All right. Welcome everyone to my first ever real video show. You'll probably notice that it's not going to be extremely produced or anything. I'm not really a production person. I don't know anything about how to put in music or anything like that. So I have a real mic. Hopefully the sound quality is good. That's what really matters. I want you guys to be able to hear what I'm saying. But yeah, it's not going to be overly produced. I just kind of want to get my thoughts out there. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Tyler. I write for DFF. And I recently did a Twitter promo saying that if I got to over 2,000 followers by the end of 2020, that I would do a real video show for you guys. And congratulations, amazing Twitter people. You did it. I love you. Thank you for all of you who decided to follow me. I think I'm somewhere around 2,058 followers, something like that. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate all the love. Appreciate all the support. It means a lot to me. And yeah, just happy that you guys wanted to hear more, wanted to hear what I was doing. And yeah, just thank you, all of you. It's really been it's been a great ride. Anyway, so with that said, I put out a little bit of a thread about some questions that people had. So I just want to get to that first, just to make sure we cover all of that, and then I might go off on a tangent or two if I want to, or not. We'll see. So anyway, first question comes in from Nate at Gen Nate Jack 2017. Before I answer Nate's question, I just want to say that Nate is amazing. He's one of the best friends I made in this community in 2020. If you're not following him, you should go follow him. And he also has a great wife. Jen is amazing. You should follow her too. And yeah, let's get into that question. So Nate asks, I'd like to hear stuff about how to manage rosters for Dynasty in the offseason and your whole process for that. Would be helpful for the large group of us who are new to Dynasty this year. Great question. Well, I literally just wrote an article about this for DFF. It's free, so you can all read it. But let me try to give you a little bit more than just that, because the article was kind of short. It's called Dynasty Next Steps. You can find it on my Twitter feed at DFF_carp, if I hadn't mentioned that yet. Right. So some of the stuff that you should do managing rosters in the offseason. So the first thing, I've said this a bunch of times. I said this in a previous video. The first thing you want to do is list out your quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end in dynasty value order from first to last. So then once you have it separated like that by position, then what I want you to do is go to the last, depends on your roster size, probably 5 to 10 players, and put them in order from first cut to last cut. So maybe your first 5 or 10 cuts, because you're going to have to clear out spots for the injured reserve, people coming off injured reserve. You're going to have to clear off spots for incoming rookies, depending on how many picks you have. So it's better to start getting a good idea of what I would call your roster bubble. Now, if you have a lot of players on there that have actual dynasty value, that's probably telling you that you should make some consolidating trades, that you're not going to be able to hold on to all of the value and you're going to have to cut valuable players. So if you kind of look at your roster in the big picture like that, that will help you avoid having to make those cuts. You can make those trades in advance. Do not wait until after you've already drafted your rookie picks in May to start worrying about this. That's way too late. Then everyone will realize that you're going to have to cut all of these players. You're not going to be able to trade them away. you're not going to be able to make the consolidating moves and they'll have you over a barrel. So start worrying about that now. But just want to get that out there. Okay. So, yeah, making room for rookies, tax squad. It's part of the same question. Yeah, so if you can, you got to look at who's on your taxi squad. And again, the biggest thing you always have to do when doing all this is know your league rules and bylaws. How long can someone stay on the taxi squad? When do you have to clear out the injured reserve? Does the roster expand for the rookie draft? Does the roster expand in the offseason? When does the roster contract? These are going to really inform, I can't give you a uniform policy for league by league, but the one thing I can tell you for every league is that you have to know the rules. If you don't know the rules, you're going to be behind the other players in your league who do know the rules. And I cannot tell you how many times I've seen someone, kind of screw over their team because they didn't know the rules. And that's just Dynasty 101. It's the first thing you do. Read the bylaws very, very, very carefully. And I'm not saying this to be you should be a dick and use every little advantage in the rules to your advantage. I am that kind of Dynasty player. I do that. Some people don't like it. I like to win. So, I'm not saying you have to be that person, but you should know things like how many roster spots there are. Do the rosters expand or contract during the offseason? When is the cut down date? How many rounds your rookie draft is? What happens is free agency open throughout the offseason or is it locked? Is trading open throughout the offseason or is it locked? These are things that you have to know. These are very basic things. You have to know them. So before you do anything, after you list the players out and you know the rules. But do those two things before you send any offers, before you cut any players, before you do anything. Just those two things. Take stock of what you have. Take stock of the league rules. I also might want to mention, I figured this goes without saying for most of you, but decide whether you're going to stay in the league for 2021 before making offseason moves. If you're not going to stay, don't make any moves. Just leave. Now is a good time. Now is when you leave. And give the new owner as much courtesy as possible to give him the whole offseason, him or her, the whole offseason to set up the team the way that they want it. So just make sure you're committed to the league before doing any of these steps. But once you've done that, like I said, list out the players, also the draft picks. We'll get to that in a second. And look over the league rules. Now, as for the draft picks, you should know at this point how many draft picks you have in 2021. You should know that. So, when you made that roster bubble I talked about earlier, you know how many draft picks are coming in that you're going to have to get rid of later. So, just keep that in mind. I think that's enough about managing rosters and cut downs. I don't, a lot of it's very league specific. So let's move on. Okay, so from @WJC3721 asks, is Logan Thomas actually a good player? Good in quotes. That is a great question. I think that it's complicated. Logan Thomas, as some of you know, converted quarterback. He just kind of popped up on the Washington football team's roster this year. They signed him, I believe, to a 2-year deal. Very minimal money. And he just kind of became the starting tight end by default. They didn't really have anyone else. They don't have a lot of receiving weapons. They have Terry McLaurin. That's really it. They throw to J.D. McKissick. But yeah, their number 2 receiver is Cam Sims. It hasn't really been doing much. Kelvin Harmon got hurt in the preseason. Antonio Gandy-Golden hasn't done anything. So they've had to rely on Logan Thomas kind of by default. And he's been good. I mean, he's been a target monster. He's been playing 90 to 100% of snaps in most games. But is he actually good? I would say yes and no. I know that's not the answer you want to hear. he's clearly good enough to play tight end in the NFL. But is he really special, or is he only getting the targets because there's a void of targets? I'm not sure. I think it's more the latter. I think that he's not actually special. Washington is going to add another receiver. They cannot go into next year with Terry McLaurin, Cam Sims, Antonio Gandy-Golden, Kelvin Harmon as their receiver core. That's not going to work. So they're going to add a receiver either in free agency or in the first or second round of the NFL draft. They have to do that. That's not optional. They might do both. Add a receiver, a rookie, and a free agent. Some people forget about this, but they were linked to Amari Cooper in last year's free agency. Cooper went back to Dallas, but Washington actually apparently offered him more money. So they wanted to get, you would say, I'm not sure if Cooper is better than McLaurin or whatever, but they wanted to get another significant receiving option. And I expect them this year to do it. So Logan Thomas is not going to have the amount of targets next year that he had this year. That's just not going to happen. I don't think this is not a Darren Waller situation where Darren Waller just came in, he was excellent, and then even when the Raiders got new weapons in 2020, Darren Waller was still excellent because he's really, really good. This is not that. I think that Logan Thomas, he turns 30 in the 2021 offseason. He's not a young player. Don't get that confused. Just because he's new doesn't mean that he's young. Turns 30 in July, I believe. So from a dynasty perspective, let's say that I think he's going to be Washington's starting tight end with little competition in 2021. I'm confident about that. But I think he'll be one step lower on the target pecking order. So he'll probably be ranked in redraft as low-end tight end 1, probably. Maybe around tight end 10. So a 30-year-old ranked around tight end 10. Dynasty, that's probably going to be maybe tight end 17 or 18. Guys like Irv Smith will be behind him in redraft rankings, but ahead of him in Dynasty. Kyle Pitts will definitely be ahead of him in Dynasty rankings. I don't know too much about the rookie tight end class outside of him. I know Pat Freiermuth is in there. But yeah, I haven't really gotten into the rookies yet. But I'm sure at least a couple of them will be ahead. I'd prefer Cole Kmet right now over Logan Thomas. That's right around the line. Robert Tonyan, who's actually 3 years younger and has a better quarterback. I'd prefer him to Logan Thomas. So I don't know. Is he good? Yeah, probably. He's fine. Is he going to be a long-term high-end dynasty asset? No, I would sell if anyone thinks, I think he finished tight end 5 on the year. If anyone thinks that's his value, I'd get out. We see this all the time. Eric Ebron had this kind of big season in 2018, never had it again. I think this is more a flash in the pan. I haven't seen anything that really sets him apart, per se. But yeah, if you're in a tight end premium league, you might want to hold unless you can get something significant because he does have volume. But yeah, it's tough. He's the kind of guy that people are not going to value anyway, so don't just give him away. You have to see what you can get. I don't know. I think I would take most second-round picks in a normal league. In tight end premium, I'd probably want one on the earlier side. So that's, I think, enough about Logan Thomas. He's going to be someone very interesting to see where people rank him going into 2021. That's a lot of it, I think, also depends on the quarterback. If it's Alex Smith again, Alex Smith loves to target tight ends. If it's a rookie, rookies tend to lean on tight ends. Depends on how good the rookie is. If it's a kind of washed up free agent like Cam Newton, then I won't like him. So we'll see. Okay. So next question. This one's from Herms NFL. Oh, Herms. Herms, if you're listening to this, I know you will. I love you. I love you. You're great. You're really like a bright, shining star in the community. And I think that more people should follow you. If anyone's listening and they don't know about Herms, he provides like a level of honesty and in a refreshing way that I really admire. It's definitely not. It's very different from me. I'm not like that in the same way. Like I try to be as open as possible, but I'm definitely not the open book that Herms is, especially not on Twitter. So he's very entertaining, and he always wants to interact with people. And I just love the dude. Like, yeah, I don't really have much else to say other than that, but I think he should have significantly more followers, and I'll always point you guys his way. Anyway, let me get to this question. Would like your perspective on making immediate trades right when the season ends. Okay. So, you might kind of have some idea of what my answer to this is going to be. I think that you should be patient. You should do the steps that I listed before. You should evaluate what you have on your team. You should evaluate the other teams in your league. You should evaluate who needs what. Are you a rebuilder? Are you a contender? That kind of stuff. Don't just go out and send a bunch of offers. It's too hasty. You're going to end up getting burnt that way. So, immediate trades, I would generally say I typically don't do a lot of those. I'll always look at offers if someone sends them to me, but I'm usually not going and sending a bunch of them. I might send some. Usually I start to get a little bit more active in the trade market in mid to late January. But for most of January, I'm just kind of evaluating what's going on. Waiting for the leagues to decide, who's coming back and who's leaving. It's just kind of a quiet trading time. I'm not really going and making a lot of immediate trades. You can do it, but it's often hard. There's not a lot of momentum to get deals done. So, yeah, I usually don't recommend it. Let's see. Okay. All right, so there's one more question. I'll cover that, and then I'll just kind of chat for a bit. So this one's from @DaveFantasy. Dave is also great. I love you, Dave. You should... Another one that more people should follow. But yeah, let's get into Dave's question. So Dave wants me to talk about the idea of selling high on players like Kamara and Ridley. It's all over my feed. It is? Kamara, maybe. Ridley, I don't know why. Well, let's get into that because I think they're two very separate questions. They have nothing to do with each other. Kamara. Well, Kamara just tested positive for COVID today. I don't know if that affects it. In some ways, I might think that actually increases his value because he can't get hurt now. I'm much more worried about an injury than an illness for his long-term value. Selling high on Kamara, you can do it. He just scored 6 touchdowns. Pretty much anyone who had Kamara won. Yes, I know there are going to be some of you that had Kamara on your team and lost. I'm sorry, but most people who had Kamara and started Kamara in their championship week won. So, yeah, is his value at an all-time high? Probably. Would it be a good time to sell? Yeah. But that move doesn't really work anymore. People are smarter now. So, it depends on what you're getting. For Kamara, yeah, he turns 26 in the offseason. This is probably, the Saints might not bring Drew Brees back. Probably not bringing Drew Brees back. Taysom Hill could be the quarterback, which we know is not good for Kamara. Running quarterbacks don't tend to dump off to their running backs. We know that's bad. So, yes, is Kamara's value probably going to go down? Yes. But when you're trading him, what are you getting? You have to get a return. If you're telling me that you can get Jonathan Taylor plus, I'll do it. It wouldn't be that much of a plus that I would need. If you're getting DeAndre Swift plus. Sure. Then I'll trade Alvin Kamara. If you're going to give me, I don't know, like CeeDee Lamb plus. Like CeeDee Lamb and a mid-first? Yeah, Alvin Kamara will be off my team immediately. If I could turn, this would be crazy, but if I could turn Alvin Kamara into Saquon Barkley plus somehow, yeah. Oh, I'm doing that. I'd rather Saquon 1-for-1. So, yes, if you get those kind of deals, sure, sell Alvin Kamara high. But if you don't, you can't just give Alvin Kamara away. He has 2 more years pretty much locked in on his big contract extension. And unlike other running backs, Kamara is more of a receiving back, and we know that those guys age a little bit better. Look at how long Darren Sproles hung around as being relevant. Look at how long Danny Woodhead was relevant. They're a lot older. So someone like Kamara might hang around a little bit longer. The reason to sell is because of the quarterback change. But a lot of people know that that's coming. So again, it's all about the value. It's all about what you think you can get. Don't just give them away. Separate question about selling Ridley high. I would not do that. I don't know what selling Ridley high means. Right now, just to look at my personal Dynasty rankings, Ridley's my wide receiver 6. The 5 guys ahead of him are Metcalf, Hill, Adams, A.J. Brown, and Justin Jefferson. So Ridley's my wide receiver 6. So I don't know what selling high would mean. I think I probably have him higher than most. So I probably wouldn't recommend it. He just turned 26. He's not at that point where you want to get out. I don't think Ridley is a sell high. I think Ridley is a hold. Strong hold. He's not really someone, if anything, I think he's a buy. If Julio gets traded away, there is the risk that Matt Ryan gets traded away. I do think it's more likely that Julio goes and Ryan stays, but there is that little bit of uncertainty. It's also possible that both Julio and Ryan go. With that said, I think we've seen that Ridley is an uber-talented player. Wide receivers, he just turned 26. We're talking about someone that has 4 years of his prime left. I'm not at that point where I'm selling him high. And I think that Ridley could be a first-round Dynasty startup pick in July. So, no. I'm not doing that. No. Okay, so that is all of the questions that I had for this. Now, let me get into a couple of other things. First, I already did it at the top of the show, but again, I just kind of want to thank everyone for supporting me, being there for me. I know it's been a rough 2020 season. COVID has, it's been tough. It's been tough for the NFL. It's been tough for fantasy football, having games that may or may not happen, even though it never actually happened, outside of 1 or 2 exceptions. Having that uncertainty hanging over us was a lot. Having players being ruled out on Saturday every week, surprisingly, was difficult. That was challenging. And it just kind of, I think it just kind of contributed to a lot of negativity that we hadn't had in previous years. I don't think it's a permanent change. I think it's COVID related. I think that the quarantine has kind of driven some people a little bit stir crazy. There was also another issue that people joined a lot of Dynasty leagues in March, April, and May, got overextended and overwhelmed, and now there's going to be a lot of orphans this offseason. So I think that contributed to a little bit of issues. This was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that hasn't happened before and will probably never happen again. I personally do not expect COVID to be a major issue for the NFL in 2021. The season does not begin until September. By then, I think there's going to be a lot of vaccination. I think that we'll have another 9 months of dealing with treatment and improving contact tracing and testing. I do not expect COVID to have the same impact on the NFL season in 2021 that it had in 2020. At worst, I think it'll be a minor inconvenience instead of something that we worry about and talk about every single week as a major problem. I don't think we're going to have this thing with high-risk close contacts at all. I think that it'll be the kind of thing where we'll still have a positive test here and there. I think most players will be vaccinated, and I don't think we're going to have... I think you might have a player miss because they get it, but this is going to be a couple players a week total across the whole league, not, all these position groups. You're not going to have Broncos playing a game without a quarterback. We're not going to have any of that. I think that we're going to be in a very different situation. So I think this was a one-time thing. So, just keep that in mind. Hopefully for those of you, kind of including myself, who didn't really enjoy too much actually playing fantasy football this year, I hope that next year's better. I expect it to be. I expect us to be mostly on a normal NFL season. So, something to look forward to. Okay, so now just want to talk about a little bit about what I have coming up. I am going to potentially start doing some more regular video content. This will be out on YouTube, and I might do some live streams there, some video content. I don't know if I'm going to do like a regular show. I don't really like just talking into the camera by myself that much, but I might do it from time to time, probably a little bit shorter than this. I just wanted to do one really long show, but I might take questions and answer them in quick format, 10, 15 minutes in the future. I'll post the YouTube link to my channel on the Twitter post for this. And I just kind of want to get myself out there more. I'll keep doing the Twitter short videos. I love doing those. Those are like quick, consumable. Just get my thoughts down in the minute to 2 minute format. But I know that some of you want something more in detail. I'm also not going to be editing this show. So if I sound silly and I say some dumb shit, I'm sorry. But I tried my best to give you my best. I just want to thank everyone at Dynasty Football Factory, DFF, as well for a great season, especially the editing staff. Thank you, editing staff. Without the editing staff, there would be no website. I need them. They're great. And something that we don't see, a lot of people don't see it in the fantasy football content space. There's the editors, they're very, very good at what they do, but they do a lot of it behind the scenes. So you guys don't see all of the hard work that they put in. I'm lucky enough, since I'm the director of content, I get to work with the editors, so I know how hard they work. I know that without them, you wouldn't see all of my articles. You wouldn't get to read all of the stuff that I put out. You wouldn't get to see any of that. So, and I know that every writing site has their own editing staff, and I know that they're all very, very hardworking. I know some of them from the other websites, and I know what they do to make that content a reality. So they deserve a big thank you. And yeah, outside of that, I'm going to keep writing. I'm pretty much transitioning away from doing almost any redraft content outside of during the season itself. I will continue, obviously, in 2021. I will be there for those start-sit questions. I know that that is my most popular thing. Thank you for all the engagement that I get every Sunday morning. I answered probably thousands of start-sit questions. I'm very happy to do that. I'm going to keep doing that. But during the off-season, I'm going to keep it focused on Dynasty. I love Dynasty. I write for a Dynasty site. And yeah, I'll probably dive into a little bit of redraft maybe in August. and then cover that through the season, but not too much during the offseason. Keep it focused on that dynasty management. With that said, I also have a Patreon. I will repost the link. Essentially, it's just, there's not much there. All of my Twitter, nothing's going to change. That's all still going to be available. All of my DFF writing content, that's all going to be behind their paywall, except for the free articles that I put out from time to time. I'm not really going to have any content on my Patreon. These YouTube videos are all going to continue to be free. What is going to be on the Patreon is the same thing that's always been there. One is that you get a link to my Dynasty rankings, the whole spreadsheet. I'm going to have rookie rankings on there shortly, but I have Dynasty, I have a Superflex tab, tight end premium, that kind of stuff. So that just gives you can just reference that. It'll help, with your Dynasty evaluation. And then I'll help you run your teams. That's the other part. Essentially like consulting. It's just having me like in your war room. So if you want to buy that, the Patreon link will appear back on my Twitter page soon enough. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up. Thanks everyone for posting those questions. Thanks for interacting with me, being the great people that you are. And I'm excited for a wonderful 2021 with all of you. And peace out.